I hate the idea, the very concept of a fauxback jersey. Loathe it, despise it, detest it, just hate it. If you really want to know how I feel. The very premise, a team with no history needs to create some and then base a uniform off that fake history, is just stupid. Absolutely stupid. That brings us to Sacramento Republic FC, who now have a fauxback jersey. The thing is, instead of creating something based on nothing, absolutely nothing, there is plenty of history in Sacramento's soccer scene to base an alternative kit off of. Now, they aren't the first team to do this. The Tampa Bay Rays put out a fauxback a few years back, and it sucked. Just a bunch of nonsense, unnecessary nonsense at that. Apparently that wasn't enough to stop Sac Republic FC from doing the same thing, playing pretendy time with the club's own history or lack thereof. The marketing department creates a whole backstory for this fauxback range, but they seemingly never spent a minute in Sacramento during the 1990s because a lot of what they created is fiction. Uniquely Sacramento fiction, I suppose, but still fiction. Look no further than the primary color of the Sac Republic's fauxback, Tower Bridge gold. Oh boy. The Tower Bridge wasn't painted gold until the early 2000s. In the 1990s, it was that shade of not exactly orange, but definitely not gold. Everyone hated because it just looked butt-ass ugly. It looked like a lesser Golden Gate Bridge. So now one of the core tenets of the Republic's 90s fauxback is based on a color that wasn't in use until the bridge was repainted in 2002? How in the holy hell does this even work? Are Sac Republic trying to claim that Emmett Brown was employed by the fauxback jersey's fictional front office during the 90s and that for whatever reason he traveled ahead in time to see what color the Tower Bridge would be painted and then reported that information back to the designers of the uniform in the mid-90s?
Oh, that's all in the past. You mean the future? Whatever!
Here's what I don't get. Biff couldn't even manage to back the DeLorean up in the future without running into some trash cans, and yet somehow he figured out how the time travel components on the DeLorean worked. Better yet, that whole UCLA wins the game 1917 business, that was a coin flip. It was either going to end 1617 or 1917, so why would young Biff believe the almanac was actually this oracle of information because it was just a single field goal? And talk about convenient timing to be turning on the radio. Oh, what's that? We're not talking about this right now. Okay, so back to Sac Republic's fauxback. Honestly, these Sac Republic uniforms, well, you can probably tell this frustrates me. We're not talking about some niche, obscure fact that I'm fond of bringing up here on the channel as it relates to Sacramento. This isn't Brookfield's being called Bradshaw's up until, I think, the mid-90s because the original restaurant was on Bradshaw Road, but then they expanded to Roseville and North Highlands, all of that stuff, and eventually it becomes Brookfield's. This is not one of those obscure facts. I could honestly eat at Brookfield's every day. That cornbread, eggs, Benedict, oh boy, that is something else. But we're not talking about that minor name change between Bradshaw's and Brookfield's. When it comes to the Sacramento Republic's fauxback, the primary color, this huge detail of the jersey is based on false history that's not real. That's kind of a big deal. Now, the entire premise of this fauxback is based on the club asking itself a question. What if Sacramento Republic existed in the 1990s? Well, let me help you out. For starters, you wouldn't be called Sac Republic because that just didn't happen in Sacramento. Your sports teams were either named after things associated with royalty and the Kings, because normally their ownership group had a hand in things. So we're talking about the Sacramento Monarchs and the Sacramento Knights. Or they were simply called River and then some animal you didn't necessarily associate with the river. Sacramento River Rats, Sacramento River Cats. You get the idea here. You also certainly would not have had FC, or football club for short, in the name because no one's really doing that in America in the 1990s. Why you've included that detail in the wordmark of your fauxback? Utterly stupid. Let's talk about those Sacramento Knights, shall we? And the Sacramento Scorpions as well, because Sacramento does have a soccer history and had a pretty robust one during the 1990s. A new jersey could have easily been based off of either one of these clubs. A Sacramento Knights tribute in particular would have been hugely popular with just about anyone who grew up in Sacramento during the 1990s because they were probably the most exciting team, the best team arguably. They were really the club of the city those nights. Every kid who grew up and played youth soccer in Sacramento and Yolo and even Placer counties attended Knights games, and a lot of them ended up playing in one of those 5-minute scrimmages during the Knights intermission. They were a big deal for Sacramento, and you could have done a real tribute jersey to the Knights. Even though it's an indoor soccer team, it's still part of that legacy the city has with the sport. Sure, the colors between the Republican Knights don't necessarily match up, but the Red Sox have been wearing blue and yellow, and NBA teams are just wearing whatever random color they feel like these days. And if the team can't even get the shade the Tower Bridge was in the 1990s correctly, then, I mean, popping on a little blue, it's not that big of a deal. The Republic could have also gone back to the late 70s for a tribute to the Sacramento Gold or Sacramento Spirits. Each would have been much better looking. They're very cool, and they're representative of the city as it was in those times in the 70s. Somewhat ironically, the Sac Republic have dubbed this the Attack Kit. At least the black version is called the Attack Kit. Of course, Sacramento did have a team called the Attack in 1992, the arena football playing Sac Attack. I know this wasn't intentional. I'm guessing if those running the Republic didn't know what color the Tower Bridge was in 95, 96, they certainly weren't aware of an arena football team called the Sacramento Attack, but I did get a chuckle out of that. It's somehow the only accurate thing about the 90s Fauxback, in all honesty. I know some of you out there are going to say, oh, stop being a stickler. You're being a dick right now. It's just supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be cool. And let me tell you something, folks. There is nothing cool about getting history wrong. There's nothing fun about misrepresenting the past. Imagine if the city of Manteca photoshopped a bunch of pictures to make it look like the state capital was located there, and then created a bunch of shirts that said Manteca, California's capital, and asked people what would it have been like if Manteca was the state capital of California, kind of making up a backstory that just made up facts that wasn't based in reality. The premise is pretty stupid, and in many ways that's what the Republic are doing here. And besides, Manteca, you don't need to pretend you have the state capital. You got those water slides. Manteca water slides. Seriously, a Manteca water slides themed Sac Republic jersey would have been better than this Fauxback. Honestly, thinking about it, I take greater offense to that than when the Sacramento River Cats tried to launch that whole Gold Diggers alternate identity and uniform that was, well, we all know how that went. At least those were still based on some form of reality, however. I still don't understand what all the hubbub was surrounding that Gold Diggers jersey, the promotional video. Look, it was a really stupid idea. It was something that didn't need to exist, but offensive? I mean, you really have to want to get your anus clenched tightly over something to be mad and angry over that. And the thing is, I'm probably the most liberal guy out there in the sports space today. And even I was like, it's just stupid, but it's not offensive. Of course, I also lived through Anna Nicole Smith. You see, some people love other people, and some people love the money other people have. That's kind of a fact of life. Kurt Angle, you have anything to add here?
Oh, it's true. It's damn true.
There is nothing true, nothing based on reality when it comes to Sac Republic's Fauxback jersey. It's just made up on history that doesn't exist and facts that aren't even real. Literally making history up as you go along. But our city has history, soccer history, the Scorpions, the Gold, the Spirits, and the Knights. Instead of celebrating what never was, why not share the story of what actually happened when it comes to soccer in Sacramento? Or at the very least, the bare-ass minimum here, get your facts right if you're going to use the color of the Tower Bridge in your Fauxback. Really though, just check your uniform fan fiction at the message boards and give the city of Sacramento a proper tribute to its rich soccer history. Unless, of course, you're telling me the 1990s Sacramento Republic would have nicknamed their uniform set after a short-lived Arena Football League team and also had the primary color of this uniform be a shade of gold based on the Tower Bridge that wouldn't exist until at least 7 years in the future. I mean, if that's what you're telling me, so be it. Better yet, if you would like to know a little bit about Sacramento's soccer history in the 1990s and the city's attempt to land one of those MLS expansion franchises, you can check out the video in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. And until next time, I am Cheyenne Hollis. I'm definitely not a fan of those Sac Republic Fauxback jerseys. And as we're fond of saying around here, hashtag take it out to the 25.